So in this demonstration, we're going to see how to create a mobile application in Oracle Application Builder Cloud Service. But we start with creating a web application. So we're going to create a small application to track our expenses. And the reason that we start with a web application is that this is the place where you're actually going to define your new business objects. Okay. So we're just creating a simple application following the regular wizard to create one page in our application, and then we're going to do up a table on this page, which will allow us to create a new business object. In our case, we're going to create the expenses business object. We're going to add some fields, so let's actually call this field the name field. So this would be the name of the expense, which would be a character, and then we'll add the cost, which would be a currency, and then another field, which would be when the expense happened, so this would be a date field. So by doing this, we are able to click Finish and then run our application and start adding data to our table. Okay, so we now have a basic complete application, web-based application that allows us to insert new expenses, look at our expenses, update them. Everything is basically built for us right now in a web interface that, by the way, is also responsive down to the scale of a mobile device. But what we're going to do next is we want to have this as an on-device application on our mobile device. So to do this, we're going to go into the main menu of Application Builder Cloud Service, and into the application settings. Under general settings, we can turn on sharing, which allows us to share the resources of this application, specifically share the business components that we created here with other applications in our instance. Next, we're going to stage our application. So this is basically taking a copy of our current application and creating a test copy. And notice that we're copying the same data that we already inserted into our development environment into the test environment. And the next step for us would be to publish the application. So this actually creates a live instance of our application, again using the same stage data in that case. Now that we have a published application, we can go back to the home page of Application Builder Cloud Service. Okay, here's our published application, and now we're going to create a mobile application. So this would take us into a bit of a different wizard, but you're still going to recognize the ease of use. So the first thing, name of the application, just like before, and then we can choose the basic layout for our starting page, choosing from a bunch of templates that are pre-provided, and give a title to our page. So you can see on the left side visually how everything that we're entering is immediately visible for us. First page is going to be a page with a list of expenses. So we're going to choose the list layout and create our application. This takes us into the visual editor for our mobile application, which displays on a phone simulator. Now we're going to add some data to our application. We have a list, so we can choose a format for our list. Let's choose a very basic title and subtitle format for this list. And now we're going to add data from an application. So we're going to pick the expense application we published. Then we're going to be able to pick the expenses object we created and specify which fields we want to show in our list. So we're going to show the name and the cost for our expenses. And we can even click the live preview that goes over, fetches the data from our business objects and shows us how the page would actually looks like. We can define a query for our page. In our case, we don't need a specific criteria, and here's our page and how it's going to look. Next, we're going to add a detail page. So the detail page is where we're going to see more information about an expense. Again, give a title for our page. We still chose the very basic layout for this page as well. This page is going to be a form page. And again, we're going to navigate to this from the navigation menu. So we'll be able to edit this specific page and then add data to it, just like before, picking the expense object and choosing which fields we want to show on our page. Okay, so each field that you want, just drag and drop it, and it would be added as a field to our page. And again, you can do a live preview with the real data in place. This queries by the ID of the field of the expense that you were on from the list. So once you click on an expense, we get the ID and show you the details. Let's go back to the list page, and on the list page we can also add a create page. So this would allow us to add a little create page. You can see there would be a plus button on the list page, And if we navigate to the create page, all the fields are already there, and we can modify them, for example, defining different data types for fields and things like that. Okay, we can also change the layout of a page. So for example, if we decided we want to add a chart, we can modify the template for this page, for the list page, to create two sections there, two tabs. Again, notice the mobile native look and feel of those tabs. Okay. Going to create the expense tab and the graph tab, and when we click on the graph tab, we have an area where we can add components. So on the left side, we can also have a bunch of UI components that we can drag and drop into our page. So let's add a pie chart, for example. And again, add data for this pie chart. From the expense object, we're going to show the cost as the size of the slice, and the name of the expense as the coloring of the slice. Quite easy to define it here. And there we go. We have a breakdown of our expenses so far in a nice chart. Now we can run the application, and we have a mobile phone simulator built into our browser. So we can actually see the application, look at how it behaves directly inside our browser. Basically a live preview, just like regular Oracle Application Builder Cloud Service applications, and navigate through the application, see the data, both in iOS and Android look and feel. So notice the little changes in the way that the menus look like, for example, between the two. The other thing you can do is test on the phone. Okay, so when you do this, we build a version of your application, and we give you a QR code that you can scan with your phone to download the application into your Oracle Max application. So the Oracle Max application is an on-device application. Here it is on my phone, so you're seeing my screen live here. And when I click on it, there's a little plus button on the bottom there. And when I click on the plus button, I can go over and scan the QR code. Okay. Once I scan the QR code, the application would be downloaded onto my device. And then I would have a local copy of the UI of the application on my device. In order to work with the application, I would need to log in because my application is secured, only accessible to specific users. So I'm going to log in here to my user and password. And once I'm logged in, I'll be able to see my Oracle ABCS on-device application over here. I can look at my expenses, click on an expense to get more details. Okay, click on the button at the top left to go back. Click on the chart to see the chart. Everything basically works on my device without any need to code anything. This is how productive Oracle Application Builder Cloud Service is.